Well, hello. My name is Patrick Carrico. This is a virtual desktop tour of an app I have created. I have never done this sort of Khan Academy style voyeuristic view on my desktop before. We'll see how this goes. In fact, I'm not even sure this is recording the sound I'm saying, but we shall see. Of course, I'm going to first load the app so you can see it, and then do my best to remember the rubric requirements and navigate through it. I created the app with App Geyser, which is a neat little program that allows you to hand tailor these apps through Android operating systems, which is kind of neat. It's harder to publish these to Apple programs, Apple operating systems. Apple it has more stringent rules on what they will publish. I'm totally just buying time as I pull up the app, and I think I have it here. But anyway, AppGeyser is great. I like the Android operating system. It's more democratic. So here is a browser-based preview of the program. And what you have loaded here is that if you were to download this app and have it on your device and then click it and activate it, this is the first page you'd see. And I guess I'm using a lot of pathos here in the opening text here, but the gist of it is that for people who need legal representation the most tend to use Android apps because Android devices are the cheapest. And then I impel people to know their rights because, well, in my own experience, very often, it's not that kids are railroaded. It's just that when they're in trouble, the people who are dealing with them tend to push them through the system quickly because limited resources and such like that. So anyway, this writing appeals to emotion. And then the first tab down below you see it's called Legal Terminology. And what you have here is a list of words that come out very often in things that, I don't know what you call them, interrogations, meetings, things like that, or words that are used by social workers in schools when dealing with kids who are at risk. And I think it's important to have a dictionary definition of these words because these words will be used quickly in a conversation, and very often kids will think they know what they mean, but really the principal or the arresting officer has a different definition in their mind. So I used, I think it was Webster's Online. That'll be in the bibliography to find out exactly where I got the definitions. But I compiled a list of common words used in the educational setting. Like, it blew my mind that a lot of kids didn't know what IEP stood for, Individualized Education Plan. They just said it for years and years and years and had no idea. It's just some letters to them. That's a very important court case. I like this court case because it uses the word appropriate a lot. And that's a word that has a lot of definitions to a lot of people. But it's good to know the name of this court case to reference back to see if there have been omissions in your IEP. Let me see. Let me look for another good one here. I hand chose these, you know. Let me see. Continuum of services is important. I've worked in schools that do not have the least prescriptive environment. Let me see. Disability is interesting too because a lot of kids who are labeled disabled think they're mental. They're nuts. They're crazy. Mental is a word that's used in the vernacular of a lot of kids in school. And the word disability doesn't mean you're crazy. And that's an important distinction to make. Due process is very important. Very often kids think due process is being read their Miranda rights, but no, a lot more goes along with that. Anyway, there's a lot of words in here, and it was a challenge to try and boil down all of these concepts into an application that someone could use. I came up with these tabs pretty much based on the rubric. I added a few, but I tried to fill each rubric requirement with a tab. Here the text looks a little bit different, but I tried to identify each stakeholder with a hyperlink that you could click on. Yeah, and within your app, it will pull up the actual website that I'm talking about there. And hopefully it'll refresh back. Yep, cool. It works. It's alive! So stakeholders, of course, are pretty much everybody involved in the educational system. Maybe my own cynicism caused me to limit the number I listed. These were I thought were the truly effective stakeholders in a kid's life. And here we have advocacy, which really means people who are paid to help you or who really want to help. I wish this tab were bigger, but it's not. Under video clips, I don't think it's going to load here. It didn't load. It loads on the actual app. Video clips is a YouTube channel that I made, and it has things like homeless student rights in Seattle, things like that. It's documentaries. There's some Khan Academy videos in there too. I did a whole section here on due process. That's why I glossed over that in that earlier tab. Because a lot of kids don't realize that this Supreme Court ruled that yes, high school students do have rights, and they are constantly being referred to. And there's a great website, and the Washington State websites about ongoing and current legal issues pertaining to things like due process. In my own work experience, I've dealt a bit with the homeless education in Washington State office, the McKinney-Vento Act. Yes, you do have a great deal of rights here. I am going to stutter and pause for a moment because on the actual application there are more tabs, and I'm going to get them here. I'm going to have to click on edit. And I, of course, I'm totally willing to send in the actual device as well. But here we go. I'll click on my dashboard. This is kind of the nuts and bolts side of this program. And as it loads, here we go. Tabs. Yeah, we left off on due process. I set up a Facebook community forum where you can log on to Facebook if you have further questions or you want to talk to somebody else in your area. It's an offshoot of advocacy. I know I have done a great deal of official conversations over Facebook working in schools. I find it a really handy tool to work with. If you had the app, the Facebook page would go right there. And then finally, the nuts and bolts page. This is my, hopefully, APA bibliography. It's quite long. I'll email that to you separately. But there you have, that's the virtual tool of the Android application I used for people in, I don't know what you call legal crisis, going through the school system. Tried to organize the tabs at the bottom along with the rubric. I identified a couple court cases that were specifically important to kids going through high school right now, and it was a pleasure to work on it. And thank you very much.